do?
I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you.
You gotta be f***ing kidding.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Have Academy Awards voters ever really rated or respected horror movies?
I'll show you who I am.
Because statistics show that no genre has long been so, well, near invisible on the Oscars radar.
Look.
Since the first awards in 1927-28, 550 films have been nominated for Best Picture. Primarily hundreds of dramas, biopics and epics. And if other film types, from comedies to crime thrillers, musicals to wartime movies,
He's looking at you, kid.
westerns to sci-fi and fantasy, have also often been overlooked, they've still been shortlisted and won multiple times. The total number of horror films up for the biggest prize in 93 years? 6, with just one winner. And some influential figures might dispute these all strictly fit the horror definition anyway.
All the power of Rome!
The bias is even clearer with filmmakers in other genres compared to their work in horror. Every Stanley Kubrick film from 1960's Spartacus through to 1987's Full Metal Jacket got at least one Oscar nomination, except The Shining. Spot the odd film out from versatile director Robert Wise's early 1960s run of influential classics. Or Ridley Scott in space, Interstellar Terror's silent scream versus interplanetary triumphant liftoff. Perhaps the most telling specific prejudices are against actors. Of a possible 356 acting awards given, only 6 went to horror performances, with only around 21 nominees from a possible 1,749 slots. Add up the nominations for iconic horror stars and filmmakers, responsible for some of cinema's defining moments, and, like them, you get 0. Though ironically, 2 actors have been nominated for playing 2 of these men making their mark, James Whale and Max Schreck respectively. Time and again, the dismissal of some of the most nuanced, complex performances in movie history is enough to drive you a little crazy.
We all go a little mad sometimes. Haven't you?
I'll be in love if it does this to you, Kenneth.
The actors themselves are surely aware of it. Note Jeremy Irons' 1990 Reversal of Fortune Oscar acceptance speech, coming 2 years after being snubbed for his dual career best work in David Cronenberg's Dead Ringers.
Thank you also, and some of you may understand why. Thank you, David Cronenberg.
If anything, it's even more evident for women.
Come on, it'll be just like in the movies.
And recently, seems to be getting even worse. Great female roles in horror, from New Mothers to Final Girls, often some of each year's best acting, categorically dismissed. And it seems clearly genre-driven. Compare and contrast these storylines.
There wasn't any liquor. He said I was going out of my mind.
Not going out of your mind. You're slowly and systematically being driven out of your mind.
But why? Why?
I'm very sorry. They both died in the accident.
Breakfast pal, remember? Main meal, energy.
You're not hungry. You're not hungry.
Don't you swear at me, you little shit! Don't you ever raise your voice at me. I am your mother.
Get home from school.
Even the same actress in similar type roles appears to get penalized for the more sinister incarnation.
What's going on? I don't know. Carol? Oh my God, Linda, what happened? She can't breathe.
Where horror movies sometimes make headway is in the supposedly lesser technical categories. Often crucial elements that play a huge role in defining the look, feel, or sound of their respective films. is this really enough? And if not, then why not? There's a narrow-minded discrimination against horror that predates even cinema.
It's alive! It's alive!
The sense that it's basically a disreputable genre, lacking the prestige or importance of serious art. It's too juvenile, silly, grotesque. To use a highly technical term, just too icky. When you view the sort of historical drama or romance long favoured by the Academy, it's clear that they often fail to see past the literal, the earnest, obvious message. So much in horror, its visions of the uncanny or fantastical, lies beyond that, in the realm of dreams or nightmares. When horror speaks of real-world issues or fears, whether it's repressed desires or political paranoia,
Miles, where do they come from?
I don't know.
mindless consumerism, or the fragility of the human body, it's often through allegory or sublimation, through concepts, entities or monsters that stand in for disease, disaster and death. The Academy Awards largely reject such abstraction.
I've always known I would marry rich. Why should I be ashamed of that? What's happening?
Florence Pugh's self-actualization and taking on the patriarchy in Little Women is a far safer bet than in Midsommar. Voters are, somewhat disturbingly, much more comfortable seeing Lupita Nyong'o enslaved on an antebellum Deep South plantation than as a scissor-wielding subterranean shadow twin taking back control. There's a disturbing subtext here that anything genuinely visceral or subversive, and especially anything showing female power fully unleashed, is clearly too much for the Oscars to handle. As a result, and the devil aside, supernatural or traditional creature features rarely get a look in. Awards-honoured breakthroughs tend to be more rooted in psychological or realistic scares. It's the throwback equivalent of that dreaded recent phrase, elevated horror. A snobbish relabeling of supposedly refined and acceptable genre films that entirely misses the point of how deep horror can get under your skin. Or simply, the skill involved in scaring the living daylights out of you.
The winner is Out of Africa. Driving Miss Daisy.
Crash.
Rainbow.
The Academy's dubious track record often calls into question its entire awards credibility. But that's still no excuse for the long-established bellwether of industry acceptance and endorsement to exclude so many worthy genres. Horror, most of all. Recent concerted efforts at a more diverse votership has appeared to champion films that previously might not win big. Arguably Get Out would never have gotten its due in earlier times. But lasting change needs constant pressure. Otherwise, like the indestructible bogeyman in the genre it so regularly undervalues, the Academy still might bring more predictable, reactionary winners back from the dead.
Long live the new Fletch.
And who needs to see more horror stories in real life?
Why him, you monster? Why not the script girl?
The script girl. I'll eat her later.